All right, before we start the music, just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Mark Ronson.
What are you listening to?
I mean, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, so I'm listening to
Baby Shark.
No, she's like some Baby Shark, but she's obsessed with Scenario by Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah.
She likes Pink Pony Club, Hey Jude. And for me, I'm DJing right now, but I'm DJing only vinyl, so like everything ends at 2007. My most current record is like Soulja Boy. But I love that era, 90s, 2000s.
I just read your book. One of my favorite things about the book is you talking about dragging the crates of records around everywhere. Like, What a pain in the ass.
It was such a pain in the ass. Listen, I haven't played vinyl in 20 years, and a friend of mine read the book. He's like, oh, the book's great, mate. I just think really it just sounds like you miss DJing vinyl. You should only DJ vinyl now for the end of the year. And he's kind of like one of those friends who says like crazy ideas that sound crazy. And you're like, I'll try it. So I've been playing only vinyl, bringing the crates around, 300 records every gig, remembering what the fuck that feels like. I do love it. There's something about when you're pulling out a record, you didn't click and drag it. Everybody's like, he brought that from home. It must be good. Down with the King, Run-D.M.C.
It says featuring Pete Rock and CL Smooth.
Yes. Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Their song They Reminisce was like this watershed moment for me. I was playing in bands, in high school bands, playing around clubs around the city, and I heard Reminisce, and it just changed my life. I was like, I just want to do this now. Like, I knew hip-hop. I knew Run-D.M.C and the BCs and LL and shit that we'd listen to, but that changed my life. And then the other thing that Pete Rock was so amazing back then is like his remixes. Like, he did a remix of Jump Around by House of Pain. Like, you would never really hear Jump Around so much in like the real hip-hop clubs, the original, but you would hear the Pete Rock version. Like, Pete Rock's just one of the greatest producers of that era to me. Q-Tip told me a crazy story about this too. Like, they didn't know what the single was going to be on this album, and they were playing and they were going to go with something else, and Q-Tip was just like, no, Down with the King, that's the one. And they were like, okay, so they went with it. It's a crazy song though. Bass drop, Be Faithful, Fatman Scoop.
Who's Fatman Scoop?
Well, he started off actually as the promotional guy at Tommy Boy Records.
Yeah.
A seminal hip-hop label, which meant he was the guy that you go up as a DJ with your fucking record bag and be like, please, can I have some records, sir? You would try and get the hot records that weren't out yet. We used to go up to his office and he'd give us records, and then 10 years later, because he just had the craziest voice ever, he started making these party records with DJ Riz and Scissorhands, like It Takes Two. And Be Faithful actually came out the same week as my first single, Ooh Wee, in the UK. He came in at #1, we came in at like 15 or some shit, but we would go and play all the same TV shows and tour together. And I was speaking to Scoop really up until really recently, and it's a huge loss and just such a beloved guy.
When you're DJing and you put that on, what happens?
People go fucking nuts. Bonita, Applebum, Tribe Called Quest. Incredible record. I write about it a bit in the book because when I started off DJing, I would go to these record conventions trying to collect all the records from the sample by the songs that I loved.
Yeah.
And so there was a famous record convention at the Roosevelt. They had like the big baller records that were like $100 that were on the wall, but you could find other shit for $5, $10. I found this sample from Bonita, Applebum. I was really psyched. I was like 18. I was like carrying it under my arm. Q-Tip was my fucking hero. And I'm walking out of the convention and I see Q-Tip. And it was obviously like my fucking stomach drops. I'm like, oh, I'll go up and say something really cool and like show that I'm in the know, as if we were peers on any conceivable level. And I go up to him and I'm like, oh, this is the record you guys sampled for Bonita, right? Like trying to play it cool. And he just looks at me and goes, I don't know. Just walks off. And I was like, wow, he's still guarding songs that are hits. Like, what the fuck? It's crazy.
But you came full circle with Q-Tip later.
By the end of the 90s, we were DJing parties together, having fun.
You're 15 or whatever, you're listening to Tribe Called Quest, and then 10 years later, you're boys with Q-Tip.
I remember the first time we played together, and he's on the mic. People are going nuts, and I'm like, what lottery did I win? We're still great friends to this day, and obviously I've gotten over that at some point, but it doesn't change the fact that my friend made some of the greatest music ever. How many MCs? I nearly said Smith & Wesson, but it's Black Moon.
Yeah.
Black Moon. That reminds me of mid-90s, like playing bars like in the Lower East Side, and the guys that produced a lot of these records would come out. Evil D and the Beat Miners, Showbiz and AG and Premier. And I remember being so starstruck, these guys like hanging out. And trying to impress them playing breaks and things like that. But Black Moon and Smith & Wesson to me is like so synonymous with New York in that era.
Can you explain how like the quick mix works and Kool Herc and those old like DJing techniques? 2
turntables, a mixer in the middle. In the beginning, Kool Herc kind of invented something called merry-go-round technique. So there was a part of a song, James Brown, whatever, that everybody loved to dance to. He would make it go on longer and longer because it might only be 15 seconds on the record. So he would have 2 copies and he'd kind of have it playing on one side, then cue it up in the next side and go back and forth.
The Other Brothers, Jimmy Castor, Gladys Knight, Baby You, the Mexican. When I did 2 records, I extend the records. Right now, I call this the merry-go-round.
It was Grandmaster Flash who later invented like really like methodically holding the record, dropping it exactly on beat, lining up the records by putting, you know, markers or stickers to show exactly where the downbeat were, and essentially invented the loop. Grandmaster Flash would have one record playing on this side, ba-boom, down, and then cue it up so he'd then go ba-boom, down. I'm saying very obvious shit, but he would keep that loop going, and that's what the MCs in the party started to rhyme over, and that's essentially the birth of sort of hip-hop and loops as we know it.
Flash, being a scientist, he would look at the record and see how many revolutions it would take to get to a certain beat, and he would mark the record with a crayon or a marker. Spin one to know how many revolutions until the beat came in, and then, you know, spin on the other. So that clock theory and that quick mix were what they call turntablism. That was born with, you know, with Grandmaster Flash.
It's one of those things that we're so familiar with the way like the internet works, your phone, the computers, that it wasn't that long ago that you had to actually physically do these things and manipulate it. You didn't have a MacBook where you could just...
You didn't have a MacBook, you didn't have a loop button, you had to literally keep looping it, and you would visually make these cues. Okay, I spun it back 3 revolutions, the arrow's here, I can drop it. And it's just incredible that they basically invented what we know as, you know, music for the last 30 years.
It's like riding a bike, you getting back.
I don't know about right. For me, I'd have to spend a little time. Yeah, it's a lot easier with the cue points, but it is beautiful to see it. Slow down. Brand Nubian.
I'm not going to get you on any 90s
Well,
hip-hop.
I mean, probably not. I hear the beginning of the song, and it's like, I actually picture clubs. That was the cool thing. I could listen to a song and then suddenly remember a club, Rebar or Den of Thieves or whatever it was. Yeah, and that Brand Nubian first album is still one of my favorite albums of all time, One for All.
Music has a way of like transporting you to a place.
Without getting too woo-woo, the sensation is in your body when you hear a song. You're in a club, it's the bass, it's all these things. So when you hear it, it has it can take you to things.
Let's get out of hip-hop.
Oh yeah, Outstanding, the Gap Band. When I think of the Gap Band, I think of 2 things. I think of being sued for Uptown Funk, which I don't hold against the Gap Band because it was just some old white guy that owned the rights that sued us, and, you know, we never stole from them, but God bless them. Gap Band Outstanding was just like one of those classics. Outside of learning all the hip-hop stuff and knowing it, you had to have this inbuilt knowledge of all the disco classics and R&B, and Outstanding, All Night Long. Those are those records that you had to know you played in the beginning of the night.
How has music changed now that we have the internet and people have access to everything? Like, especially someone like a DJ who really had to do the homework of finding these things that are rare.
There's pros and cons, right? Like, it's so great that a kid can just like have a car drive by, Shazam it, hear Outstanding on the, or whether it's playing on a radio, and just have it. I really appreciate that I came up in an era where you had to learn about those things by like seeing other DJs or like hanging out in a record store. It made it feel a little more special and important, but I'm all for progress as well, you know? Did Wyclef tell you to play this?
No. He told me to play Nirvana.
It's Alicia Bridges.
Yes.
I did quote it in my book. I love the nightlife. I like to boogie. I think there's something synonymous with that, with like going out and being out at night, as well as just talking about the 90s in the book. I wanted to be like, why were we all out? I mean, obviously, you like dancing, you want to get laid, you want to get fucked up, but there was something about these people that you saw out night after night. I was trying to figure out if there was an energy or something pulling us, so that's why I quoted that.
It goes on forever, though. That's not a new thing. Like, if you go back to the 20s, people were at the jazz clubs doing the exact same stuff.
Yeah.
There's always been a pull.
The book's called Night People. It's not like, oh, people go out at night or vampires and fuck-ups. All the people I knew went out at night, like, were probably running or hiding from something in their day life, or maybe had a fucked up time of their life where night was just this place that you could escape, and it's darker, you have a little more armor or something, you know?
You never really explained that in the book, like where you were running from.
I think I tried to be like, I can't talk about the night and all this stuff without talking about my own drug use and even my parents. I interviewed like 150 people for this book.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to fucking interview my parents. I love my mother, but I talk to her enough times in the day, you know? But I was like, I gotta ask her, how do I write a book called Night People, saying that I'm like this person who's drawn to night? I remember waking up as a kid, parents always having parties, without finding out how she became a night person. And so it was really interesting to ask her and I did interview her and ask my dad about it. And I guess I loved DJing, so that was obviously gonna bring me to the night. And night, you gave me this extra fucking, I don't know, sparkle or something.
Speed round.
Oh, M2 Juicy Fruit. Sorry, it started with a weird sound effect.
Hey boy.
All night long, Mary Jane girls. Mama, a soul Makossa, Manu, Dibango. Oh.
This is one of the ones that I discovered.
This is dope. This isn't
You'll get it.
Oh yeah, Temporary Secretary, Paul McCartney.
That's a weird song.
There's a tendency to misremember him as like John Lennon was a rock and roll badass, and like Paul was like kind of like happy poppy guy, but Paul made the weirdest fucking music. And I got to work with him on his album New, and I went to his studio one time and I got there early. He was literally like step sequencing a Moog keyboard to make the weirdest fucking sounds I've ever heard, and just like, ooh, like a bit of that. He was the first person to use like Moogs on a recording with Maxwell's Silver Hammer. He was always pushing it forward. In fact, when I was in the studio with him, we were working, I was like, what have you been listening to lately? And he played me Climax by Usher. And I remember being like shook, because I was like, that's a fucking great record if he's expecting me to make Climax. But no, Paul McCartney is insane.
He was way more experimental. People give John, like you said, they give John all the credit, but he was getting into some weird experimental shit even before.
He's making those tape loops, Tomorrow Never Knows, all of that stuff, yeah.
I was curious about this song.
Oh yeah, Jeru. Yeah, Come Clean. That's a crazy, crazy beat. That's just one of those beats that, like, when it came out, like Nori, Super Thug, like, it was just like a line in the sand, like, you've never heard anything like this before. And that just went off so hard in the clubs. One of the craziest mixes I ever heard was Stretch Armstrong, who I came up idolizing. I remember being in a club and he dropped R. Kelly, Your Body's Calling. And Stretch, like, never played slow jams. And it's like packed club, 2:30 on a Friday night. I thought he was like trawling the crowd, and then he brought in the instrumental of Jeru, Come Clean, like underneath it, and it was just like the whole fucking room like went ballistic. Premiere has 1,000 of them, but that one stands out.
I was just listening to this the other day. Were you involved in this song?
Oh yeah, Amy.
This is the song on Ghostface album.
Oh, that's the Ghostface version. Okay, so I was always a huge Ghostface fan. Of course, I'd done Ooey with him on my first record, and Amy loved Ghostface. So when we made You Know I'm No Good, we wanted to do a version with a Ghostface verse on it. He loved it, and he said sure. And then he was like, you mind if I do a version for my album as well? So that was kind of how that one worked out.
I feel like it's just pure you, like mixing Wu-Tang and Amy Winehouse. And
Amy was a hip-hop fanatic. When we were making Back to Black, in my brain I was always like, I want to make new music that sounds like if the RZA heard it or Ghostface heard it, he would want to sample it right away. Then when he did it, it was sort of full circle.
And more importantly, you want to make stuff people can dance to.
That's true. I like making stuff people can dance to.
Stuff that is people are going to be at home with like a hip-hop sample, but also people want to get on the floor.
Yeah, definitely.
You dominated that.
Thank you very much. I saw the Darren Criss one. I was very impressed, like pulling the guitar out. And
where's your guitar?
Next time I'll step my game up. I'm sorry.
Thanks for coming to talk to us.
Thank you very much.
Congrats on the book.
Thank you.